Today! In crypto, Bitcoin is flashing a massive buy signal. I've got the latest DeFi news for you. 7-Eleven is going to start selling Bitcoin. Institutional money, it could start moving into crypto in a big way. And the Plustoken scammers, those dudes are at it again, so be aware. My name is Lark, and this is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of the latest happening out here in the wild land of crypto. So let's dive into the markets first. Now, taking a look at Bitcoin. Really nothing exciting happening with Bitcoin right now. I feel like I've been saying that for a couple of weeks, but that's what's been happening. Yes, the price is down by a few percentage points on the day, but really, we have only moved to the lower end of our range that we have been stuck in for what seems like forever now. We are still sadly under the 50-day moving average though, showing us that we could see more short-term bearish sentiment. And there are two key areas of price right now that really need to hold to maintain that overall kind of bullish bias towards the market. Now, 8,500, that is the bottom of our range that we've been in here for like ages, since the end of April. And then there is the 200-day moving average, which continues to rise up, creating a closer price floor for Bitcoin in terms of that critical line of support, which is around $8,300 at the moment. That has to hold for the bulls to retain control of the market. Now, the longer that all of this goes on, the more likely it becomes that a big move is going to happen. Bitcoin is increasingly just being forced back into a corner. And when that happens to Bitcoin, big volatility tends to be the result. The volume is continuing its downtrend again, making a very big move increasingly likely. Everyone's just sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what will happen. The fact that I've been talking about the general quietness of Bitcoin for around a month now is in of itself a big move, and it's really just showing that we are powering up for something quite volatile probably coming here at some point whenever it stops raining sideways. But before we do crack $10,000, we still have got to deal with one of the big pressure points for Bitcoin right now, which continues to be the Bitcoin miners. There has been a big spike in miner outflows overnight. Nearly 97% of the total outflow of nearly 3,000 Bitcoin from miner addresses ended up getting deposited to cryptocurrency exchanges on Tuesday. Unsurprising that we see a few percentage points down in the price. The rise in the number of coins available on exchanges for sale, it just creates that short-term price event that can push the price a bit lower as we see that sell pressure coming in. So we could see a potential relation there between the price dip today and that miner outflow. But that won't last forever. We do have a bit of hopium, though, that could indicate an upward move that could finally break us beyond that $10,500 barrier. The Bitcoin hash ribbons are now entering into the buy zone. We had a brief moment of capitulation after the Bitcoin halving, and now we are starting to move back up. Historically, this has been a very good indicator for when to buy Bitcoin. After the first Bitcoin halving, we did have our short moment of capitulation, followed by a buy signal on the hash ribbons. From the time of that buy signal to the peak of that bull cycle, we had a 4,500% gain for Bitcoin. And after the second Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin's price rose by 2,700%, taking us, of course, to our all-time high of $20,000. And now we have the exact same pattern playing out again. History does not repeat, but it sure does rhyme sometimes. Look, the gains, they were lower on the second cycle here. In fact, there were only about 60% of the gains after we had from the first halving percentage-wise. But if we had a similar result this time around, then Bitcoin would only increase by 1,600% from the buy signal on the hash ribbons to the peak, which would see a top of around $160,000. Which is pretty gosh darn awesome. But it's not all about Bitcoin. In fact, Bitcoin dominance has just lost key support on a trend line that dates back to early 2018, meaning that even if Bitcoin rises to $160,000, that altcoins are likely to absorb massive amounts of that inflowing capital to the market. Altcoins are going to make many, many new millionaires over the coming few years. Be ready for it. The allure of altcoins having much lower market caps and much bigger ROI potential will continue to lure lots of investors in. So you can position yourself to take advantage of that or not. A big thank you to Cryptodotcom for sponsoring today's episode. A reminder that you can now enjoy a 2% bonus on deposits to the Cryptodotcom exchange and 0 trading fees for the first 90 days after joining the Cryptodotcom exchange. Also, Canadian dollars have now been added into the Cryptodotcom app, so Canadians can now buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies directly using their own fiat currency. Also, some very big news from Crypto.com, and it's called Pay ID. So Crypto.com, along with industry leaders Brave, Ripple, Blockchain.com, and about 40 other partners, they have launched a universal payment ID system to simplify the process of sending and receiving money globally. The coalition will be able to reach more than 100 million consumers. That's massive. And finally, of course, the super popular Crypto.com debit cards. They are now shipping in the USA, the EU, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, the Philippines, and soon coming to Canada. You can enjoy lots of great perks with these cards, like the generous cash back rates that you get for every swipe of the card, free Netflix, free Spotify, premium lending rates in the app, and much, much more, depending on which tier of card you reserve. And if you sign up using the link down below and reserve yourself a ruby red tier card, maybe a jade green card, or higher, you will get $50 in free crypto, which is definitely a nice deal. Okay, so on to the first story of the day. Decentralized exchange volume is exploding at the moment. Combined, they have done over $500 million in volume over just the last 7 days. That's over 20% of the total for 2019. All combined together. It's crazy. And it's starting to reach levels that are actually bigger than many smaller centralized exchanges. DEXs, man. DEXs, I'm telling you. And while favorites like Compound and Synthetics, they remain high in the DeFi rankings, newcomer Balancer has been exploding recently as well. Just really continuing that massive trend that we're seeing right now for basically anything related to decentralized finance, whether it be exchange tokens, lending tokens, liquidity tokens. It's nuts. Also, the total amount of Ethereum locked in just Compound Finance is now over 900,000 Ether, closing in on 1 million. The impact of these DeFi protocols on the available supply of Ethereum, it is going to have a massive impact. Just one single application has managed to suck up close to 1% of the ETH supply in less than 2 weeks. And of course, we have Maker, which already has like 2% or something like that of the ETH supply. Ethereum, I maintain right now, is very undervalued. And stacking ETH at these prices, very nice. And in fact, ETH flows into platforms like Compound. They have been so significant that right now it is outstripping the daily new supply creation by many, many magnitudes. It's nuts. But short term, we could have some serious headwinds, particularly for Ether, potentially for the entire cryptocurrency market. You see, 789,000 Ethereum owned by the infamous Plustoken scammers, they're on the move. That's close to $190 million worth of potential sell pressure coming into the Ethereum market. And the Plustoken scammers, they don't just have Ethereum. 2 days ago, they also moved around $67 million worth of EOS. Now, historically, when crypto held by Plustoken starts moving, it means that they are selling and getting ready to sell. Every time this has happened before is a time that the market has started into a downtrend. Now, perhaps we'll buck that trend this time. Maybe there's enough buying pressure out there to absorb $180 million worth of Ethereum coming into the market, but something to be aware of. Now, the good news is that the Plustoken scammers, they are running out of ammunition slowly but surely. While it is hard to be certain, it is estimated that Plustoken scammers have indeed actually very, very little Bitcoin left. They've sold off most of that over time. The EOS and Ethereum that are moving around right now, it may be their last big batches of crypto. We can hope anyway. But nearly 800,000 Ethereum being sold, that could spell some real trouble for ETH in the short term. Great for dollar cost averagers though, without a doubt. That is, of course, if they sell. And if they don't sell now, then all of that Ethereum owned by these scammers just remains the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads, which is not a good thing by any means. Next up, I have another massive adoption story for you. American Bitcoin merchant LibertyX, they have expanded their network to include 20,000 7-Elevens, CVS, and Rite Aid pharmacy stores where customers in the United States and 45 different states can go and buy Bitcoin for cash. It is also possible to buy Bitcoin with a debit card at one of LibertyX's 5,000 ATMs, but man, this is such an awesome story. I love it. This story, along with the PayPal rumors, along with Cash App, along with Coinbase, along with Fidelity, it's just really everything happening right now. It's going to make getting your hands on Bitcoin during the coming bull run wildly easy, meaning that the friction for new money to enter into the markets is going to be significantly lowered, which expands our base of people that can easily come in and buy Bitcoin. Compare the current situation back to 2017, it's like 100 times easier to buy Bitcoin now than it was just a few years ago. And the trend, it is moving towards more availability, not less availability for buying Bitcoin, which is totally awesome. Okay, moving on. Crypto research firm Masari has estimated that Bitcoin could trade for $50,000 if institutions were to simply allocate 1% of their portfolio percentage to Bitcoin. The logic is that just a tiny percentage allocation from endowments and foundations and family offices and sovereign wealth funds and pension funds, mutual funds, all those guys, all those players, that would result in around $480 billion of new money entering into the Bitcoin market. And honestly, that really doesn't even seem that far-fetched to me. A lot of these players, they're already starting to dip their toes just a little bit into Bitcoin. They're starting to play around with it. But really, the game mechanics of Bitcoin, they're very strong and they're starting to come into play. You see, the earliest institutional adopters, they're the ones who are going to reap the greatest rewards. The latecomers, not so much. So once we really see one of these big guys, or more of these big guys, I should say, announcing, then others are going to have to take notice, and it creates that FOMO amongst them. It's happening already because Paul Tudor Jones, he sent out the signal. And that signal that he was getting into Bitcoin, that was the signal a lot of others needed to say, okay, this Bitcoin thing, it's serious. We need to look into this. We can't keep ignoring it. Because if we do keep ignoring it, then we're going to miss out big time. Anyway, those are just my 2 Satoshis. Your question for today: are you worried about the Plustoken scammers moving around all of that Ethereum? Do you think that we could be in for a nice, healthy market dump if these guys start selling off that $180 million worth of ETH? Or will it just be a big, fat nothing burger? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. As always, I massively appreciate your time. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to come and watch this dude here talk about cryptocurrencies on the internet. Hope you're having an awesome one out there. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.